Are you ready for the September Cuties? It's time. Hi everyone, Cristin here, and we are going to get started on the September Cuties. I'm starting a little bit earlier than usual. I usually do it like the last week of the month, so we're a little bit early just because I'm going to be out of town the last week of the month. So the September Cuties, I'm going to start just with a prep video. This will actually only take a couple of minutes probably. So I just want to go over some of the basics. So the biggest thing with this one that I thought was really interesting is the first four fabrics. So on page 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, yep, the first four fabrics you'll see here, these red, these are going to be like a collage for those apples. If you look at the apples, they're so cool. They're not just one color. See how they're multiple colors? We are going to make that. So it's going to be really cool. So you will need Heat and Bond Light. Heat and Bond Light, that's what it's called. And what I did is I put it on the back of all of my fabrics, and then I cut the 3x3 squares. So we want 3x3 squares of those four fabrics, and I just added the Heat and Bond. I ironed it onto the back of the fabric, and I'll show you what will happen once we take off that layer. We'll have just this side that is fusible. Let me get it off here. I can do this, honest. Oh my goodness. Remember the glitter vinyl? I always had trouble with getting the glitter vinyl off too. All right, let's try a different corner. It's not hard to get off, just so you know. It's just me. All right, so once you get that off, see how it's shiny? That's because it's got a fusible backing on it. And so we fuse this onto it by keeping the paper on there, but then when we're going to use it, we will take off that paper, and it is just this fusible side that there's nothing to it right now. But what we're going to do is we're going to cut this into a bunch of cool shapes and lay it down on the apple, and then do a tack down and trim. And after we do that, then we will fuse it on. All right, I hope that makes sense. It's going to be really interesting. I've never done a collage applique before with embroidery, and so I think this is going to be super neat. I'm very excited about this one. If you haven't done the cuties before, at least do this September one. I think it's going to be pretty cool. All right, so let's start with each of the parts. So that was the big thing. I'm just going to highlights. All right, I'm not going to go through every fabric. I'm just going to give some information. All right, so like I said, those first four fabrics, you're going to cut each of those fabrics into four pieces of 3x3 squares. All right, so there's four different fabrics. It's the that star, the houndstooth, a plain red silky solid, and then red dots. All right, so all of those are the ones that you're going to put the Heat and Bond on. I did it on all of them because I use Heat and Bond for my appliques when I do shirts, and so I put it on the whole fabric, and then I kept the extra for my appliques. You don't need to do that. You could just cut the 3x3 pieces so that you're using less Heat and Bond Light. Totally up to you how you do that, but you do want Heat and Bond Light. I also heard there's another product if you don't have Heat and Bond Light, and I've never heard of it before or used it before, so I'm not super helpful on that, but I did write it down. Sorry, I'm looking through my notes here. It was called Steam a Seam. Steam a Seam. So if you know Steam a Seam works the same as Heat and Bond Light, you could give that a try too. So Heat and Bond Light or Steam a Seam is what we will use to create our collage apple. All right, so that's those first four fabrics. The next one is the brown, and that one is the corner block. So it is a tan color. Let me pull up my corner blocks real quick here. So this tan fabric, it says to cut four pieces at 2.5 by 2.5, and I recommend 3x3. It's not required, but there was plenty of fabric. There was quite a bit extra on this one, and it says we get a fabric scrap, but I got a large fabric scrap for mine. So if you have enough, cut them to 3x3 instead of 2.5 by 2.5. That's the only change I recommend for the corner blocks, and then we'll cut them down after. It just makes it so that it will tack it down. All right, makes it easier in my opinion. The next one is the cashmere. No change on that. It's not cashmere, sorry, that's the thread I'm going to use. It is the tan with lines all through it. So the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 6th fabric down, no changes on that one. That's for the center blocks. The next one down from that is a cream silky solid, and no changes on that as well. And then the green and white striped, no changes on that. The plain green silky solid, no changes. The green with white dots, that one is for our outer borders. And like I always suggest, I would cut them a little bit bigger than what is described in the book. So in the book, we want 2.5 by 18, 4 pieces, and I would recommend 4 strips that are 2.5 by 20. A little bit longer, and then we'll cut it down with assembly. It just makes it so that you know you have enough. All right, and then the next one is a blue with white dots, no changes on that one. And then the next one is a navy blue with, orange peel or lattice. And that one is for our outer borders. So this one, again, I recommend cutting it a little bit bigger. So that piece of fabric is for our outer borders and also for our binding. So what I did is I took off the binding strips. I cut that off from the start. And I always just cut 3 strips that are 2.5 times width of fabric. You actually only need 2 strips that are 2.5 times width of fabric and 1 strip that is 2.5 by 20, but there's enough. So I always just cut the 3 strips of 2.5 times width of fabric and then take that off so that I'm not stabilizing it, and I use that for my binding, and then the rest I stabilize because that is for our border. So inner border A, it says in the book to have 2 strips that are 1 3/4 by 10.5. I recommend to 12. That makes it a little bit longer so that, like I said before, you can cut it down at assembly and you know that you have enough. And then for B, inner border B, same thing. It's that navy blue lattice, and that one is going to be 2 strips that are 1 3/4 by 13. My recommendation is by 15. So just a couple inches longer will make it so that you can cut it down in assembly and it will have plenty of room. The only other thing that I wanted to point out is the backing. It says in the book that we have that lattice fabric, but I got a blue silky solid. So if you got this as well, then I just didn't want you to think that there was a mistake. They often change out the backing fabric. So and then it was the prickly pear embroidery felt, the camel brown embroidery leather, and the red white twine. All of those were just the same. And like I said, don't forget you need the fusible, heat and bond light or steam-a-seam for those first 4 fabrics. That's the only change really, is to make sure to have something to back that we can fuse it down after we've already, it's gonna be really cool. I'm pretty excited about it. We're gonna cut all these different little strips and place them down so that there's all these different types of fabrics in our apple, and then we will tack it down, and once we trim it away, then we will fuse that. We will iron it down so that it's all adhered. All right, so that was really the only change I had, is just a couple, the usual, the inner borders and outer borders a little bit longer. The backing is a little bit different fabric. The corner blocks I always try to cut to 3 by 3 instead of 2.5 by 2.5. And then that, make sure to have some heat and bond light on hand. We'll need that for the triangle block. So we're going to start with the center blocks, then do the inner borders, and then do the triangles. So you have some time if you want to order some. In fact, I will add a link here. I think it goes here actually, from Amazon, Heat and Bond Light. It comes really quick from Amazon. It's a nice roll. It's not expensive at all, and a good thing to have on hand because I use it for all of my appliques when I do shirts. All right, that's it. Some just basic information for prepping your fabrics. Get all of your batting. I will include a batting guide that I have, so you can do a screenshot of that. But get all your packets ready so that we can get started. I almost forgot to mention, so the thread colors. I went through each of the fabrics and decided the thread colors that I'm going to use. I will add under this video a listing of all the ones that I've chosen. They're all by Glide, and I actually added a couple extras. So on page 12, it has these little boxes for you to determine the thread colors that you want to use, and I added a couple. I thought I added in key lime and cream on top of the other ones that just because I thought that that would look nice as well. So totally optional, but I will add information under the video with the list of all of the thread colors that I'm going to use throughout this project. And how are you doing with your goal? My goal for all of the cuties, so for the whole year of the Cuties Tabletoppers, is to work on strength. So I am working hard at it. I have been doing less cycling and more running to work on bone density, because running is obviously better for bone density than cycling is. So I'm working on this specific badge on iFit on my Nordic Track treadmill, and I'm working in Yosemite. I've never actually been to Yosemite after living in California for all those years. I've never gone to Yosemite, so I'm getting to see like General Sherman and whatever. There was a big one today that I got to see, these big beautiful trees, and they talk about the interesting facts of the place that we're in. So we're in Yosemite. They're talking about these burns that they do. They create fires so that some of the trees will die, so that the trees that need it will have all of the nutrients that go into the ground, versus it going to so many different trees. So it's super interesting, lots of interesting facts. And I'm working with Hannah Eden, who is a really tough trainer, and yet it's going really well so far. I up it when I need to on the treadmill, and I lower it when I need to on the treadmill. So it's going really well. And I'm also doing strength training, so I did that last night as well. I don't get photos of that. I do have a cute one of my dog laying on my mat, because he loves to do that. As soon as I lay out my yoga mat and bring out my dumbbells, he lays on my mat. So anyway, I'm definitely working it. I'm doing my part of building strength as much as I can. So what are you doing for your goal? I want to hear about it. And my shirt today is I washed up like this. It's a shirt from Hoop Mama. I will add a photo so that you can see the shirt, and I will add information underneath the video of a link of where you can get the design. It's super cute. The shirt is from Amazon. I love this shirt. It's available in lots of different colors. It's a great shirt to embroider on. So I will add a link here if you want to get a shirt to embroider on. I'm hoping to get some done while I'm editing the videos for my upcoming vacation. I want to have a couple of new shirts if I have time. Probably not likely, but anyway, it is a really cute design. I like this one.